Oh, well.
So I need to start prepping for tomorrow. Thanks for listening, guys. Until next time.
Oh.
Well, fuck me. I had this whole goddamn thing typed out, and then my laptop died, so now I gotta read this whole fucking update again. Okay. If it wasn't for all the support and messages asking when the next part would be out, I wouldn't even have bothered typing this all out again, but I know the feeling of getting your daily fix, and I didn't update yesterday due to some events. So I guess I'll start all over. Anyways, fuck me, let's just get this started again. I ended the last update with me driving away from the motel parking lot, and after a few seconds of me pulling out, Mike pulled in. If I had even left a few minutes later, he would have caught me in my room packing my shit, or me packing everything up into my car. Did he think I was an idiot? That I wouldn't change places after he ended our conversation with, "You'll be seeing me sooner than you think"? Or maybe he's having just as much fun as I am with this game. After all, you don't take up this line of work without at least partly enjoying killing people. I'm probably giving him the same rush he's giving me, in that he probably doesn't expect his clients to actually go after him or even know when he's coming. Anyways, I got to my next hotel and took a shower I desperately needed again while singing that stupid fucking Iggy Pop song, IGGY, and, shaking my ass in the shower.
Oh, that song.
It's like a fucking brain parasite, and the only way to get it out is to sing the song of its people, or some shit like that. I don't know. Fucking sue me. After I got out of the shower, I passed out on the bed after having almost been killed a few hours prior. When I woke up, I knew I needed to get going again. After all, I was it.
What you need
I went to Walmart to pick up a new phone and some supplies to make a few suppressors. Yes, I said suppressors instead of silencers. You happy now, gun fags? Anyways, as I was walking down the aisles watching all the fat-ass Americans on their scooters because they're too fucking lazy to walk, I started contemplating how Mike even got my number. I picked up my new phone and a few cans.
Oh, my neck. Let me pause the video. Oh, I'm gonna hit the stop button. No, be good.
Along with a few other supplies for my
I say what she whiz. I miss.
suppressors. And no, I'm not getting into how I made them. I just pulled the first guide online that showed me how, and they were a real pain in the ass to make. A few of your guys' suggestions on how to make them seemed a lot easier.
Okay,
anyways, as I was checking out, I took out my cash and looked at my phone.
This guy, this phone, it made me mad. Really mad. I ain't about the video again. And I ain't halfway done. We're close. See? Oh, I'm pausing video.
I paid for the first throwaway phone with my card. I'm such a fucking idiot. That's probably how he tracked me down. I paid for everything and got back to my hotel. The first thing I did was some research to see if it was possible to get a phone's ESN/MEID number just from a purchase. It turns out it was possible to do. It was just a difficult process of going through Walmart's purchase database or the phone's manufacturer database. Fuck. Another mistake on my part. If I keep fucking up like this, I'm going to end up dead. I took the rest of the day to make the suppressors for myself, and they turned out pretty good. Except for the huge fucking cheese whiz mess I had to clean up. I now had one for my 9mm and one for my P90. After all that was done, it was dark out. I wanted to see if Mike would somehow be able to find me with no card activity or cell phone at his disposal, so I waited. passed by, then 2, then 3. After about a week and 3 hotels later, I figured he was only able to track me when I used my card and slipped up somehow, like anyone who doesn't know a hitman is following him would do. Unless he was watching and studying me the whole time, which I doubt he was doing. By the end of the week of sleepless nights and constantly looking over my shoulder, I was almost completely out of cash on hand. I knew I needed to hit a bank or an ATM, but as soon as I withdrew some cash from my account, they would know I did, and the location I got it from. After a bit of thinking about this, I figured I could usually use this to my advantage. So I set out to surprise little old Mike. After all, a week prior he set me up, so I figured it was time to return the favor. I traveled about 30 minutes to the very outskirts of northwest Las Vegas. I found an area that seemed perfect. My bank on one side of the street, and a desert with lots of boulders and Joshua trees on the other side. As I was surveying the area on one of the corners near the bank, I saw an ATV with a for sale sign on it. I went to the door and rung the bell. A nice, typical suburban dad answered the door with a little girl right behind him hugging his leg and looking up at me. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Yeah, I actually saw that you had a Yamaha ATV for sale, and I was wondering how much it was." He told me it was $1,500, and I told him that I was interested. We shot the shit for a while, and he told me about his family and that they just had another girl, so he had not the time or money to keep this thing around. "My time of fun and fucking around is on hold for the moment, I guess," he said, laughing a bit. I laughed back, and while I was looking at him, I kind of envied him. If I had a girl I loved a lot and some little ones that meant the world to me, I wouldn't be doing what I was currently doing. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry, I'm rambling. I told him that I was interested in getting it now and asked if it was okay if I ran to the bank to grab some cash. He told me that that was fine and he would be waiting outside. I got to the bank, and as I was about to put my card into the machine, a thought grabbed my attention. As soon as you pull out this money, you're going to be on a time slot until Mike comes in and checks the area. I mentally prepared myself and pulled out the cash. It was time for us to meet again. This time, on my terms. I ran back to the man's house with the ATV, and he was outside checking everything out on it. I handed him the cash and gave it a quick test drive around the neighborhood. I got back in a minute or two and thanked him for the time and wished him luck on his newborn. I got in my car and told him I was going to park it around the corner of the nearby park and come back for the ATV, as I was going to be riding it today. He said that was fine, and I took off. As soon as I parked at the park, I literally ran back to his house and hopped on the ATV. I had just pulled out the cash, and I knew Mike couldn't possibly be on his way already, but something inside me knew that I couldn't involve this nice gentleman that I had just bought this thing from. I wouldn't put it past Mike to break into their house and kill everyone in there just to get a hint of my location. I drove the ATV back to the park, and I parked it right behind my car. I got my backpack out from the back seat and put my homemade suppressors and my 9mm in there. I slung the P90 on my back and also rolled up a few paper targets and put them into my pack just in case I got stopped by the police. At least I had an excuse that I was practicing my shooting out in the desert. I eventually got about 400-500 yards out into the desert across from the bank. I set up one of the targets and fired 2 shots from both homemade suppressors from each gun. They both worked really well, with only a small sound coming out of each of them. The sun started to set behind the mountains, and I got set up and parked my ATV behind a large boulder. When it got completely dark, I got on top of the boulder and I lied down. I put on a black ski mask and a black shirt so I couldn't be noticed out in the open. I flipped the cap to my scope on my P90 off and looked through it. I could see the bank dimly lit inside, as well as the parking lot. Now, all I had to do was wait. It had been about an hour and a half to 2 hours since I had to look at the bank, but no Mike. Around 11 o'clock or so, I finally saw his black car pull up. He drove around the bank once and then parked in front of it. I immediately noticed that his plates weren't on the car, which struck me as odd. He got out and walked up to the ATM and had something in his hand with wires attached to it. He put it in the machine and turned his back to me. Perfect. I flipped my safety off and took the shot. Boom. Center mass. He fell into the machine and pulled out his gun. How the fuck is he even moving? I shot him right through the fucking back. He ran and ducked behind his car. I aimed for his tires. Boom. Back right tire. Gone. Boom. Back left tire. Gone. At this point, he knew the direction I was shooting from and he popped his head out. He shot twice in my direction, but he couldn't see me in the darkness. It was great. I had another huge smile on my face. Now you know what it's like to be trapped, you son of a bitch. But this time, you have no getaway vehicle. Alright guys, I was planning on going a little bit further with this, but I think I'm done for the day as far as writing goes. I'll update tomorrow. How's it going, guys? Sorry about not updating yesterday. I had a fucking massive migraine and couldn't even walk, let alone type an entire update. I was sitting on top of the boulder I had just taken the shot at Mike from, who was standing in front of the ATM. I forgot to mention during the last update that he had a mask on when he got out of the car. I could tell it was him though, with his suit and body shape. I took a shot at him and he fell onto the machine. I proceeded to shoot out the back tires on his Chrysler 300 to trap him. He was now a sitting duck with nowhere to run. He then went onto the passenger side of his car and dove through the window. I didn't know what he was doing. He obviously knew that his car was fucked with 2 back tires gone. He put it into reverse with the back rims grinding against the pavement. Then the car flipped around with the headlights pointing towards me. He gunned the car across the road and started hauling dick towards me. I shot a few times at the front windshield, but the bullets seemed to not go through. I now figured that he had some sort of light bulletproof glass or something of the sort. The car had now hit the desert, still accelerating up. About 100 yards out from the boulder I was perched on, I saw the driver's side door open and him bail out. I shot once at him, but missed. As soon as I took the shot, I jumped off the boulder right by my ATV. About 2 or 3 seconds after I did, I heard a huge explosion and saw a gigantic flash of light envelop the dark desert. I started up the ATV and slung the P90 over my shoulder. As I rounded the boulder, I saw Mike's car engulfed in flames. I flew past it, searching for him with my 9mm out. He was nowhere in sight. I gunned it to the bank and ran up to the ATM he was just at. The weird electronic device with wires hanging out of it was still stuck in it. I grabbed it and took off. I guess he forgot it in all the commotion. I took off towards my car, still trying to look for Mike in the desert as I passed by it. Again, he was nowhere to be seen. I took off my ski mask and put it in my pocket as I was speeding down the street. I was pissed I had let him get away. It wasn't going to be easy to get another chance like that, like I just had. As I arrived at my car, I heard sirens in the distance. I knew I couldn't just leave the ATV out in the open for the cops to find, so I found some bushes on the edge of the park. I took some wet wipes I had in my backpack and wiped off the handlebars and a few other spots where I thought my prints would be. I ran as quickly as I could after hiding the ATV and got into my car. As I was driving away, I could hear more and more sirens in the distance. I hauled ass out of the area in order to not be linked with what had just happened. It was about a half hour later, I finally arrived back at my hotel, exhausted and angry that I missed my chance. I pulled the device that I had just gotten out of my pocket and started doing some research. I didn't find much on the outer web, but on the darknet I found some similar devices. They were apparently for hacking into ATMs and pulling money out of people's accounts.
Awesome.
I needed to figure out what he was doing with this thing, so I drove to a nearby coffee shop and used their Wi-Fi. I checked my bank account and saw several $1,000s missing from my account. All of the transactions were in $1,000 increments, one day after another. It blew my mind. They were taking money slowly out of my account in order to bankrupt me to slow me down. This just pissed me off more than anything. You weren't playing this game very fairly, Mike. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. I went back to my hotel and crashed. When I awoke, it was already daytime, around 10 a.m. I finally got a good night's rest. God knows I needed it. I sat up in the bed thinking. Technically, Mike was it now, and I figured he was a bit pissed that I caught him by surprise. Oh, and on top of that, he destroyed his car to get away from me, and he probably had to walk for hours and hours back to his hotel, or call a taxi. It made me smile that I put him through all of that. He really went through a lot to get out of that situation. I mean, shit, his